It's comedy. You can see it's 1:11 and 41 seconds. I don't know what I'm watching. What is it? The only way is Essex. He's talking about cheating. He doesn't know why he's cheat, and he's like, don't know why I do it. And if I was talking to my mom, I'd be like, Mom, I know why I cheat. I'm a man. I've mostly cheated. All men cheat. Most alpha males cheat. But you got to look at infidelities and the primology of the 280 species of primates, and how many are monogamous, and what sperm competition is. Like, think about the gorilla, Mom. The gorilla is the biggest primate with the smallest penis. It's because it lives in hierarchical heron groups where the alpha male beats back the subordinates, and as a result of that, you know, he's got to be big and strong and mean, and his sperm has an inverse correlation that gets small and weak and slow, and that's why he's got a small cock. Like, honestly, like, we have a gland on our penis, the bell, because it's a sperm extracting device, because there's multiple males that copulate with a woman, and we've always been like that. It's promiscuous, because during the last 10,000 years since we've had like a paradigm shift towards language and expression of values and cultures and intellect and the separation of the world based on the ideologies of religions that man is clearly made up, because believing in religion separates the genomes to allow them to bifurcate, to evolve into distinct cultures, because with complex dynamic systems over time, you need the nesting down and the strange attractors. In terms of a complex chaotic pattern, you have strange attractors where the bifurcations, whatever the simple rules that make a complex behavior, sometimes simple rules nest into stable patterns, so you can get what's called a strange attractor, whether it's like a Lorentz attractor or a Sierpinski attractor in 2 dimensions, which is a cellular automata, but the Lorentz attractor is a strange attractor in a 3-dimensional space, and then I could name strange attractors in 4th-dimensional spaces and maybe 5-dimensional spaces, but then I can't link group theory and topology well enough to think through those different planes of existence. But what I'm describing is ultimately that he just doesn't know the knowledge of why he exists and why he behaves that way, and nor the paradigms of cognitive behavioral therapy or evolution or primate sexual selection and the problems with sexual selection around the world. It's so important for a woman to pick a man and for her to dump a man, because realistically, come on, if she gets a really good man with strong sexual dimorphisms, which is the strong jaw, the big eyes, this V neck, kind of the V chest, those sexual dimorphisms generally have a high IQ if she exists in a developed country where the socioeconomic paradigms of the modern financial world and the current economic situation in the developed country where there isn't that much corruption, because corruption slows down the process of nesting and feedback and stability. But if you overlook all that, you know, she can pick that kind of man. If you get that kind of man, if he's a professional athlete or a millionaire, more than likely he's fucking around to some degree at some point, because it's normal behavior. I'm not being judgmental, but this is how men are. And I think in the UK about 10% of kids are not born to their biological dads, because really, you know, the woman looks for better genes, and women are always looking for better genes, and it's just how sexual selection is. So if I spoke to my mom at that level about that kind of stuff, I'd be like, yeah, I do it, I'm this way, I like pretty girls, I want a prettier girl, but I just don't act out, and this or that, I want to be like I was when I was 16. When I was 16, I would date everyone and everything, and I wouldn't have sex with everyone, but only because of the socioeconomic consequences of that when you're 16. But this is 10,000 years ago, where life is short. You know, you got to get busy quickly. So as soon as you got gametes and you live in a nuclear family, and you can find a mate, and you can incorporate her into your culture, and you can both coexist to raise your baby. In terms of R selection and K selection and biological systems and ecosystems, there's a difference. K selection and R selection, well, one invests very little resources and has a lot of kids, but the opposite is like the weed. That's a weed. But the other one is like the higher level complexity organism that has the opposite strategy, where it has one offspring and invests a lot in them. And if you look around the world and the birth rate for women, you compare that to the GDP per capita, and you contrast that to the socioeconomic picture of the world and where all the conflict zones, and you consider that in respect to the genetic inbreeding coefficient, or insanguinity, which is first cousin marriages, which has a particular distribution around the world. When you look at the big picture, you really, really see how genetics and environment create economics that result in all these people with these ideologies and this competition for space and resources. I mean, I don't mean to be a social Darwinist right now, but when you understand economics and the corruption of the world and genetics and biology and ecology and all those things, and when you see enough, when you meet enough people and you from all these different races and groups, and you start to form enough stereotypes and you start to knit it all together, well, the world's not a fair and even place. Everyone has different aptitudes and needs for different environments and resources. But when you take those organisms out of those geographical constraints, and you let those nervous systems evolve in different topologies and climates and three-dimensional spaces, and what I mean by three-dimensional space is your point vector in that phase space of your property in terms of, A to B. What do you spend your time doing? You get on the internet, you punch a few keys, you get groceries delivered, you eat them, you sit on your ass, and you trade futures and you trade wheat and you make money and you do nothing. But yet in India, there's like 200,000 tons of wheat that have gone spoiled because the wheat traders have bidded up the price of wheat, and they don't want to flood the market because they want to drop the price, and people are just making wheat, and we make too much food. But when the food isn't distributed at an even rate, given how much we let the population